Ever consider urban planning as a practice of anthropology? Well, check out sNAPAshots, conversations with practicing professional and applied anthropologists. Let's meet Robert Wulff. Robert is a Caucasian male wearing a black polo shirt. He is a practicing anthropologist who builds communities for people to live, work, and play. How did you get into anthropology, and what is your subfield of practice?
As a teenager, I was fascinated with archaeology and spent a lot of time reading about it, and decided I wanted to be a Near Eastern archaeologist, and went to the University of Chicago because of the Oriental Institute and studied there. And I was a junior. This was 1965. The Vietnam War is going on. The world is exploding, and people were burning their draft cards and going to jail. And frankly, archaeology seemed not irrelevant, but not pertinent. It was a very different time, as you can, anyway. America was in the middle of a civil war with itself. So it just so happened my senior year, I took a course from Saul Tax in the anthropology department because I had an elective, and I fell in love with action anthropology. And I said, where can I go to graduate school to get this? And he said, I don't know. I don't think there is any place. But he said, UCLA just started a program in urban anthropology. So I applied and I got in. And so I went to UCLA to do more action anthropology. Well, they were very good there. The program was new. They didn't know what to do. So they said, take courses all over the university. And I said, well, I looked around and I said, if the catalog course has urban in the title, I'll think about it. And I ended up taking a lot of courses in the School of Architecture and Urban Planning, which changed my perspective tremendously. Because I worked with planners and architects who, of course, make a living in government and industry. And I learned what a professional was, and I learned what a practice was. And these are words that don't get talked about in anthropology. But I came out of there with a very different perspective. And I was pleased to get a job because of that perspective with the brand new graduate program at the University of South Florida in applied anthropology, a master's. It was the first program of its kind. And I said, this is me. This is what I was meant to do. So I go out to teach, and I'm in Tampa, and I'm teaching, and I'm not liking it. And I tried to introduce some of the ideas of practice and professionalism. And while the faculty was curious, they really weren't committed. And as cradle to grave academics, these are good men and women, but they really didn't get it. And it took me 3 years, and I said, they don't get it. So I left academia, I just walked away and started my own consulting firm with an architect and urban planning consulting firm. And we made money for a year, but it was scary because you're only as good as your last contract as a consultant. I mean, archaeologists do a lot of that, and they know this. And it scared me, and I got an offer from the Carter administration to come to Washington and work for HUD. So I did. And I worked in the Office of Neighborhood Development. And it was fascinating because we were building capacity of neighborhoods to do things, to organize themselves, and I mean, to do simple things like food costs, but to do more complex things like build low-income housing. So it was very gratifying, and I did a lot of traveling, and it was boots on the ground. It was very ethnographic in that sense. And then the Carter didn't get re-elected, the Reagan came in, the program was killed. And I thought about what I was going to do, and I had a lot of time to think. And I had a friend who was in real estate development, and we talked a lot, and she said, what you're doing at HUD is really development. You're working with people more than we would work with people, but you have the skills, and you should come, and we're creating a new division for apartments, rental apartments, and you could run that. So I did. It's basically you're the choreographer. You know everything. You know a little bit of everything, and then you organize everybody to do it. And there's a lot of design in terms of conceptualizing what a community should look like. And it's very creative. And I found my anthropological knowledge very useful. So that's how I got into development, and I stayed there for 35 years. It's the culture concept, which to me is being able to connect the dots that others don't see and to find patterns that others don't see. I think we're uniquely good at that. And I use this analogy when I was teaching. If all the behavioral social scientists, if all the different behavioral and social sciences were each a fish, and the school of fishes was swimming in the ocean, the anthropology fish would be the first one to figure out they were swimming in water. And I think that's what anthropology contributes that is unique to the other social sciences. The second valuable knowledge is ethnography, the ethnographic method, which covers a lot of territory. But I think what it gives you in problem solving, it gives you the emic-etic distinction, the insider-outsider distinction, which is very valuable in negotiating and understanding other people's motives, which is very useful in business, no matter what business you're in. I found myself over and over again being able to understand what the other side really wanted, not what they said they wanted, but what they wanted, which is very valuable in negotiating, in life, much less business, you know. And of course, ethnography is, you know, boots on the ground, getting out, getting yourself dirty, and understanding the native point of view. And that translates just to all sorts of good business practices. And then the third one is cross-cultural approach, which I talked about briefly, which I think provides empathy, which is really valuable as a human being, but is also valuable in government, industry, and business. So the trouble with those three hunks of knowledge, they're really hard to sell. I mean, you can't put it on a business card. You can, but nobody will buy it. So it's a real problem in anthropology outside of academia because it's hard to sell the knowledge. None of my anthro professors ever told me anything about practice because they didn't know about it. They didn't know anything about it. Certainly not at the University of Chicago. They sneer at practice. I mean, these guys are, you know, from heaven. They're in theory their whole lives, and they're very good at it. You know, they get awards and they get tenure, and they publish wonderful books, and it's a great department. But don't go there to learn about how to use your anthropological knowledge in government industry. I mean, they don't want to know, and they ain't going to tell you, you know, because they can't. Okay, so that's true, and they tried it, and they tried at UCLA. But the reason I took so many courses in the School of Architecture and Planning is because I wasn't getting it from my anthro professors, and how could they? They're cradle to grave academics. They couldn't tell me about practice, about using my anthro knowledge. Now, neither could the people in planning and architecture, but at least they knew how to use their knowledge in government and industry, and I could model myself on them.
Thank you, Robert, for sharing your experience as a practicing professional and applied anthropologist. For more SNAPAshots, find us here, practicinganthropology.org, Twitter, Meta, and LinkedIn.
Give me the big headshot smile.
I'm not good at smiling.
Oh, you look great. There we go. I'm going to take a second one just in case.